Hi everyone, this is Alan Lepofsky from Constellation Research, and this video is my weekly recap of news for the week ending August 28th, 2015. Let's start off in the IBM world, and we can see what's new in the IBM Connections and IBM Verse August release. There's some great new features. Probably the one that I think is most important is the Team Analytics update, which shows you more information about the people who are on the message that you're reading. I'll be sharing the links to all of these pages afterwards, so you can come back here and see all of the other new things in IBM Connections and IBM Verse. Next up is a company you may not have heard of named River. River is a pivot of a company called Cantata from serial entrepreneur Pat Sullivan, and it's a group chat messaging, product in the likes of Slack and the others that are very popular these days. River is one of the newest into this scene, and a lot of great features. What I like about it is Pat Sullivan has written a blog post here very specifically calling out the fact that he understands Slack is the market leader in this new wave of group communication tool, but he points out rightfully there's not always just one winner. There's a lot of space in this market for multiple tools. So I encourage you, if you haven't taken a look at River yet, to take a look at that and see why they say they're unique, most of it revolving around their pricing model and what is free versus the competition. Speaking of Slack, they are certainly not slowing down, and one of the things that has made Slack one of the most popular tools out there is that almost everything you use sort of integrates into Slack. Well, now they've gone the opposite way, and they've created a Add to Slack button. So instead of just having integrations over on the Slack side, you can now add this Slack button to other products, and then it will post things over into the Slack world. So for example, if you're in something like Box, you can do it. Airtable, an application that I really like, and I think they have 14 or 15 others that are launching. So developers, I encourage you to take a look at how easy it is to add a Add to Slack button to your applications. Speaking of Slack, BetterWorks, the goal management human resources company, has added integration to Slack. See, I just mentioned everybody's adding integrations to Slack, as well as SuccessFactors and Jira. So BetterWorks basically can have their goals now published over into Slack. So if you say for this year, I have to do the following, those tasks can now show up. They've also hired a new executive in charge, or they're calling it head of revenue. This differs from head of sales because it's both sales and, I assume, professional services. So congrats to BetterWorks on new hires as well as new product enhancements. Let's skip over and talk about Claras In for a moment in the social task management space. Claras In has their new summer release now available. One of the main focuses here is on new dashboards to allow people to see information more easily. So again, I'll provide you the links. You can go back and take a look at all of the things that are happening in Claras In's new release. Speaking of social task management tools, this is a little bit older than this week. I feel bad, but I missed a major announcement by one of the key players in this market, Workfront, who's just raised another $33 million. So I encourage you to go over and take a look at what Workfront is doing in the social task management space. One last bit of news for the social task management space, a product that I really think has a great visual interface in the social task management world is DropTask. So DropTask is sort of like, the others, Asana and Workfront and Claras In that I just showed, sort of blended together with a Prezi-like interface if you've ever seen it. What they have done now is released a new desktop native application for Windows. I've been using the desktop application for Mac for a little while, and now they've added a new desktop beta for the Windows environment. So speaking of building native applications, which I really like, a lot of these tools that were designed for the web are starting to realize people like native OS apps. I'm one of those people. Redbooth, the collaboration and communication tool, has also just released a new desktop application. This one's for Windows, Linux, and Macintosh, and it gives you access to their social task management, unified communication tools, all from a native experience as opposed to doing things from a browser. Next up, speaking of unified communications, let's take a look at video conferencing vendor Fuse. great application that's kind of blending together unified communication and collaboration, has just announced that they're now available on the GSA schedule. What that means is for the U.S. government, so the U.S. General Services Administration, employees of branches or divisions of the government can now easily get access to the Fuse application. They do so through purchasing through Winveil, which people in the government will be very familiar with. So congratulations to the team over at Fuse for getting onto that GSA list. Next up, we have Portal Solutions, which has just released a new social intranet that integrates all sorts of pieces of the Office 365 family together into a common user interface. So here they point out SharePoint, Yammer, Skype, OneDrive, Office groups, videos, etc. in an easy-to-navigate window. I will let you surf over and take a look at Portal Solutions' new one-window workplace to see what they are offering. Speaking of Microsoft and SharePoint, well, Microsoft themselves has some news. They've just released the first IT preview of SharePoint Server 2016. They point out in this blog post that this is just the first of many announcements they're going to be making in this space. But the key things that they're focusing on in this release have been sort of hybrid IT deployments. So you can have integration between the cloud and on-premises versions of SharePoint, doing things like searching across those different places. So you can have a unified search that will return results back in both worlds. And why that's important is for things like the Office Graph and Delve, showing content that exists in both on-prem and cloud at one time. So again, read that for more details. Now let's talk about a little bit more funding news. Philadelphia-based company Peoplelink, which is a social selling organization, just raised $3.5 million. So congratulations to Peoplelink, and especially near and dear to my heart because my good friend Michael Idenopoulos is working there as their CMO. So extra congratulations from me on that. But again, go read about social selling application Peoplelink, and congratulations to them on making more money. And then finally, I want to finish off this week with an announcement that I really like. This is something I've been complaining about for years, and I'm happy to see LinkedIn finally doing, adding features to SlideShare. And what they've done is they've added two really simple features: the ability to clip individual slides. So instead of favoriting an entire presentation, you can just bookmark, they call it clipping, an individual slide for from any of the presentations you're looking at, and then you share those individual clips in these boards. So sort of like a Pinterest type of board, but instead of shopping for consumer electronics and clothing and all sorts of cool things, you're clipping and creating boards for the slides that you like. So for example, I can easily create clipboards for social, for mobile, for all these other topics that I cover, or for these news items and things that are coming from PowerPoint presentations shared on SlideShare. So very cool feature, very easy to use and extremely powerful. I think it's the start of a bunch of really cool things that they could be doing in that space. All right, well, I'm going to wrap things up by just pointing out one of the things from my blog as well. I want you to quickly go over and watch. I created a little 5-minute video. It talks about 5 trends in the future of work, talking about movement to the cloud, analytics, digital assistants, lightweight micro applications, and aggregation of content. I will not steal the thunder from that presentation. You go over and take a look at that. So that is the wrap-up of news for the week ending August 28th. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure I missed tons of things. As always, if you have a news item that I didn't cover, please leave a link to it in the comments below. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.